All right, sorry about that, everybody. It's just crazy, I guess, these days in the world of Zoom. All right, so we're not at 1:30, we're actually about 1:45 to call the meeting to order. The minutes from the March 10th meeting that were lovely. Anybody have any corrections, changes?
To make a motion to approve.
All right.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, those minutes are approved. Hooray. Any additions to the agenda? You're probably wishing there were subtractions. All right, and it looks like there's nobody else joining us for public comment. All right, so I'm going to kind of leave a couple of the things on here, until they're completed and we totally check them off the list. Of course, the Community Planning Committee is first in our minds, I'm guessing. So the letters went out to many people, the ones, occasionally a couple twos if we were getting no's and we knew a quick fill-in person. Not getting many yeses back as quickly as we probably hoped, but is there anything new since I looked at the spreadsheet with the yeses and no's column about, I don't know, half an hour ago, 45 minutes ago now.
How many have said yes?
6, 8, something like that.
It's not bad. If they're representative, that's not bad.
I just got an email about 1 o'clock or 1:05, something like that, from Jackie Salem.
Oh yeah, you put yes to her.
She will attend. So we have on my list, I have Nancy Powers and Jackie are yeses. I did get an email back from Sarah Fayed. I emailed everybody a second time because I hadn't heard back from so many people. And Sarah just got back to me a little while ago and said she really was excited to participate. She's one of the teens that Abby recommended, but her family's not letting her do in-person events yet. So if she can do it via Zoom, she might be able to do it, but I didn't know where we stood on that. I know we originally talked about possibly doing a hybrid system. So that's one thing that's up in the air. And Izan Khan hasn't responded. So Abby suggested we move on to the next team. So I will send out another invite there. And
okay, terrific. We all found out Ben could not make it, so he was a no. Okay, yeah, you must have just updated it right before I looked because I saw your yeses for Nancy and Jackie. You must have got them in right there, and then I looked. I'm like, oh yay, Jackie and Nancy are yeses.
Yeah.
And I have yeses from Rosa Fernandez, who's Board of Ed and a parent in town and everything. She wears a couple hats. And the DTC chair Laura Arban's a very hearty yes. I'm waiting to hear back from Christina Zimmerman. I just sent another email. Cassie Dunn was no because of a conflict. Sue Slater was no. Also, conflicting things going on in town. So that was pretty much what I had back on hard yeses and hard no's. And then what, Christina, you had Steve Harding said yes?
Steve Harding said yes, and in my email to him, I had mentioned that we were hoping that either he or his wife would attend, but when he wrote back to me, he actually said that he will definitely attend and hopefully his wife will too. So we may get a 2-for-1 deal, which we weren't expecting, but they do tick different boxes.
Yeah, that'd be good.
I was surprised because she has the new baby, so I really wasn't very hopeful about
Maybe they need a break and this is a fun date night.
Yeah, date day, right?
Yeah.
So Nadia McLean, once we realized what her real name was. I reached out to her and she is a real solid maybe right now. She was originally on Mary's list, but then Mary and I were talking and I know Nadia. I didn't know a Medea, but I know Nadia. And she was great. She was super excited to be contacted. And I actually, she said that she would, help in any way she could. But my original outreach to her was, hey, would you be interested in sitting on the strategic planning committee? Are you still in Brookfield? Because I haven't talked to her in quite some time. So I wasn't sure if she was still here. Turns out she's still here. She would like to. So I sent her the form letter following that communication. So I'm waiting on that. We know that Sue Slater was a no. I think I mentioned to you guys that I was going to reach out to Steve. I did. He can't make it. So Harry Shaker made the list. And I've emailed him. I just emailed him a follow-up email actually today. So I'll hopefully know sometime soon. I'll just run through mine if you want.
Sure.
I had reached out to, I reached out to Pastor Bryn at the Congregational Church, and I never heard anything back from her. So I really don't have too much hope that she's going to be able to do it. And then Candlewood Shores, reached out to them twice, haven't heard anything back. The RTC chair is a yes. George
Blass?
Yes, George Blass, he is a yes. And then I think I had one more. Who's my other guy? Ability Beyond. I reached out to them and left voicemail, but they haven't gotten back to me. So, and in my voicemail, I stated that we were looking for a Brookfield resident if possible. So that may have discouraged, I don't know. And then Genevieve Mulvaney is a no. Jeff Dunkerton is a no. And that's all I had for yes, or for ones other than Ben Bogus. So Mary, I feel like, we've got to expand the list only because, for those 6 people.
Yep. So we had other people on the list that we hadn't either, maybe they were twos and we didn't reach out yet, like Logan Sullender. I didn't reach out to her yet. And she's on that diversity committee that's a branch off of Board of Ed. So, she might be an interesting one to reach out. She was a 2. So we did, call her 2 so we could, start sending letters to the 2s. And then we can look at other people that we didn't put as a 1 or a 2 and be like, well, would we like them to be a 2? Or a, hey, come to our meeting anyway.
Well, you're a month away. So, I would just blanket it, send out.
Yeah.
You have 8 right now, yeses, and 1 a hopeful. So if you can get a few more, you're going to be golden.
Yeah. So let's see, I want to change colors of pen. We go. My list has so many colors, but I'm a color coordinated kind of person. So I'll try to hear back from that kid. He's like 25. Everybody under 30 is a kid now, right? To Jeremy Farrell. He was just a really dynamic, interested, eager kind of guy. So he'd be interesting in a group discussion. And then who else? I guess we'll have to see like who will divvy up, like who knows who. So I'll reach out to Jeremy. So that's me. Let's see, who were some of the, just we'll grab the 2s real fast. I can reach out to Logan Sullender.
Do you have anybody from the seniors representing seniors?
That's Nancy Powers.
Nancy
right?
Powers.
Oh yeah, okay, and she's terrific. Former police commission too.
Right, we had originally thought about Meredith.
Sorry, Mary, I'm going to put your name next to Jeremy and I'll make him a 1.
Yep.
And you also said, sorry, who else did you say? Logan Sullender?
Do you see her on your list?
Yes, she's now a 1. So I'll just change any 2s that you mentioned to 1s.
Okay. And we're just, pretty much inviting item. So also as 2s, we had Tom Murphy, who was a resident with a special needs child. I don't know if anybody knows him.
I know Tom.
Or has contact information for him.
Yeah, I know Tom. I can get in touch with him.
Okay. And then there was Meredith Rell O'Connor, who's a resident and business owner.
I can reach out to Meredith.
Okay.
You mentioned the feral child, the kid. How about the mother? If the feral kid isn't available, or if you already have a young person?
I think Farrell's in his 20s.
Yeah, he's 25.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, what's interesting about him is it's really hard.
We're still calling him a kid.
No, I didn't. I thought he was a high school kid.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's really hard to capture that older than, once they're out of high school, like where are all the 20-somethings in town?
Right. But his mom could represent the larger disability population.
Right. And as a matter of fact, that's partly why they moved here. They had an unfortunate, time in New Milford with him going through schools. And then they came here for 4th grade and, the skies opened up and the rainbows came down and he really blossomed. So they are pretty happy for Brookfield schools. Who else do we have as 2?
Nancy Munn. Is that
okay? Did we lose her somewhere?
That
Nancy
was a
Munn.
name that was put forward by somebody on our staff, Lynn.
Yeah, it was put
Harrison.
forward by Lynn Harrison, but I have Yvonne, I have your name next to her. I'm going to assume that you know her, or?
I don't know her,
She's
but
a-
I have her contact information from Lynn, and she was a 2. So do we want to make her a 1?
Sure. Yeah, she was a retired nurse,
Great.
former Girl Scout leader, et cetera, et cetera. Sounds great. I'm sure there's a lot of healthcare issues that have been raised in the last year, or, a lot has shown upon like the gaps. Okay, who else do we have that were 2s that we tried?
Do you, Mary, you're planning on just making all 2s 1s now, or?
Yeah, let's just make sure though that people
Okay.
know for sure, like, okay, this person's gonna ask them, just so we're not like, oh, they became 2s, but we didn't decide who was gonna actually send the email.
Okay, so Shauna Graham was one that I had on my list as a 2, so I'll make her a 2 or a 1.
So I'm getting another email from Sarah Fayed, the teen, and she said she is available on that day via Zoom if we want to do that.
Okay, so we'll kind of keep her as if we could do Zoom, would love to include her. And we could talk about the Zoom part in a couple minutes, I guess. Let's make sure we have people.
I would put Izan there as a no, since he didn't respond. And Abby is emailing me saying that Vince Diesta or Bailey and Abby Mahoney would be her recommendations next on the list. So I can reach out to them.
Okay. And then if we didn't have Jeff Dunkerton, did we want Jeff Braun?
So it has to be somebody whose name is Jeff?
Absolutely. I'm assuming they're both with J. I don't want any of those G Jeffs.
Oh, okay. Well, that's gonna narrow it.
Actually, the G Jeff is a very elegant way to write it. So we'll throw Jeff Braun into a 1. And originally I had Christina's name next to it. Is that someone you know? Okay.
I know how to get in touch with them.
Right.
I've spoken to him a few times. If you prefer to hand that over to me, I can do it.
Yeah, I'm happy to do it, or if you want to, I don't mind. If you have another reason to reach out to him, then.
Nope, he just emails me every so often to let me know what he thinks.
Oh, well then you could email him and say, we think you should come tell us what you think. Since you're so good at telling us what you think.
I'm happy to if you want me to. Yep, no problem for me.
Okay. So why don't we have Yvonne do that one?
And did we want to change Liam Inea to a 1? Or do we think we have the sort of 20-something perspective with your person that you just found, Mary?
Well, we're not sure he's going to say yes. So that's a small detail there. Yeah, we could ask Liam if he's still around. Did he go away to college? Do we know?
I don't know, because every college status is so different right
true.
now.
Yeah, as I asked it, I'm like, do kids go away to college anymore? I don't know.
But I will email him.
Okay. All right, and doesn't even get us up to probably doesn't get up to about 18. Was there anybody we hadn't picked as a 1 or 2 that were thinking like, that would have been a good person? We could still reach out to Sean Hathorn. He was on board of finance back a few years ago. We could do Devin Scanlon.
She was a number 1 to begin with, and I haven't heard back, and I've sent her 2 emails. So I can call her. I mean, usually I just will stop in pre-pandemic. I would just stop into Chick-fil-A and chat with her there. And she's always been very responsive that way. But unless anybody else, Christina, do you know her? Devin Scanlon?
I don't. Do you know her?
I've talked to her several times just because she's so great about donating things to the library. But I've had no response to my emails. So So I don't know if, I mean, in the past, I've called her or stopped in person, so I'm happy to do that. I just thought in case anybody else knows her a little better, but I'm happy to try and follow up, unless we just want to move on to, I mean, at some point, is it a little stalkery if you've
Yeah.
emails and they don't get back? So, I mean, I could put in a phone call, and then if we don't hear back, then I'll say we move on from her.
Right. Then that's a really good hint to like, okay, I didn't answer your emails and I didn't answer your phone kind of on purpose.
Right, right.
All right. We'll just try one phone call and see what happens.
Okay.
Hey, you know, they've got something before zoning tomorrow. If she wants that passed. No, I'm kidding.
Uh-oh.
Wield that power. Totally kidding.
Yeah.
All right, well, we'll just get that next round out, and we still have a few names if we get a bunch of no's, and we can fill those in a moment's notice as needed. So that'll be good.
Just realizing we're talking about names and we're live streaming.
That is true. Well, probably no one's watching us except maybe Betsy.
So we're going to want to, maybe we'll call them by line number on the sheet going forward.
Okay, good point. So we'll just kind of hope those emails out again and hope for the best. I left facilitator on the agenda just because I wanted to, make sure we check in every now and then. If you've heard anything, does Wendy need anything from us? Did she communicate anything she wants to tell us? Like, basically, does she need anything? Have you been in touch with her at all in the last 2 weeks?
No, she just wants a solid agenda. That's pretty much it.
All right, well, perfect, because number 7 is agenda and materials.
Yes, very well.
All right, so the agenda, I was guessing we would mostly follow the book page. Well, there's a 36 and a 37. Obviously, one is more geared toward the presenter herself, and one is more geared to what you might hand out. It was really neat to see agendas put out that way, where, some have more details than others. So like, the presenter knows in her mind, oh, I'm aiming this time, this target time, but the audience typically doesn't know that. It's like, well, that's a smart way to do it sometimes. So yeah, I had gone through that even before our last meeting, because I kind of wanted to play with, okay, the intro, what if that's like 15 minutes? That gets us to 9:15. And what if developing the vision statement, the first part is another 20 minutes, then the second part's another 20 minutes. So I was kind of like running the clock on it if we did it exactly per the book. Obviously, no lunch included. Not that long of a break. So it looked like, the times all ran through like they would work. And as you said, Wendy already said, oh yeah, she could do it in that amount of time. So did you want to just use it as is? Do you think she's comfortable with it? Because I know she had the book, right?
She had the book, and she was going to read it at soccer practice, but I never heard what she thought of it after soccer practice, other than she believed that the shorter meeting would be best. So I would say that if we did a little bit of work and then did exactly what you're talking about, Mary, where you lay it out with the timetables, that's probably the best way to do it, just to give her that as something that's, really easy to follow.
Okay. All right, because I already have that. Well, here you go. It's in a notebook in handwriting.
It's perfect.
We'll just rip it out. No. So obviously I can neaten that up. But yeah, I played with, this would be 15 to 20 minutes and that would be 15 to 20 minutes. A short break would be like 10 minutes or maybe by the time it gets to the presentation from the overview of the library, that might be around 11-ish. So yeah, I have that all worked out. I can type that up and send it around, see what you guys think before we send it off to her. It has, if there were handouts, blank form, there's some of the blank forms in the back of the book. So it has those listed also. Those are the things we need to like photocopy and have available for participants. So that would be handy. There were a couple other things that weren't actually blank forms. They just said, oh, use something like figure so-and-so in the book. So we could try to replicate those in some way and decide if they need to be passed out to everyone or if they could just be kind of shown to the whole group. Like when they get to like a decision tree type of thing, does every group need one of those? Or is that just something they should have like, you know, in the front of the room to look back at? Like, oh yeah, that's a decision tree. I know what they mean. So when it goes on page 37, it says handout planning for results, handout planning response. I don't know if they need, you know, planning responsibilities and stuff. So I guess we'll go back and see of those handouts, what we really want to hand out.
And I was thinking that we might want to hand some things out prior to the actual meeting, you know, if you give folks that a packet and then they can bring the packet with them, at least they have it prior. That may reduce the amount of time that things have to be run through also.
Right, so that would be some of those handouts at the beginning of the agenda.
Yeah.
Hand out like a little packet ahead of time.
Yep, and then also for the service responses, you know, going through those, the handout of the service responses, figure 18. I don't know if it's best to figure 18. No, is it figure 18? But the service responses may be something that we hand out, or even like if we could get it copied large so that everyone could kind of see it as they're discussing it, it might help. You know, if you had it at least, you know, larger so that, you know, it's a little bit clearer, because those are things that people are not used to seeing.
Can you guys, I gotta go out for a minute and handle a patron issue. I'll be back in a minute.
Okay. Let me just see.
I'm just speaking. Sorry, Alice.
I don't have my book, you know, because somebody took it.
I would have taken your book, Alice. I've got to mute you. Hold on.
Okay. But you have this dichotomy. We started this whole thing that we didn't want to gear it toward the library, but toward the community. And so the handouts, whatever you give, you don't want to kind of influence the reaction based on the handouts. You know, that's your problem. Remember, we were trying to find out for about everything else about town that we might be able to help with at some point in a new library. So
it's actually a very good point. So maybe what we want to do is make sure that nothing that's handed out, especially prior, has anything to do with the end result. So certainly the service responses we should not hand out prior. You're right.
Right.
That's a good
but
point.
when you get to the ones that are in the back of the book, community vision, that's not library specific, and community SWOT analysis is not library specific.
Well, you know, in my snippy little way, I mentioned I don't have the book, so I can't really refer to any. All I'm just saying is in general term, so I can't look at what, you know, what's page 37 or something. So just be mindful of what your end goal is.
Right. So
yeah, what's going to be handed out and what's not prior. That's good.
Okay, so nothing library specific for anything, any pre-materials.
And then one of the things that, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
Sorry, Mary. I was just thinking the planning timeline is probably something that, you know, that we're going to want to figure out, because that's one of the handouts that we should be giving to the community folks. Mm-hmm. The other thing is there should be an orientation. I know you did the orientation for the Board of Trustees, Mary, but I don't know if the staff has been told about it, but I know that there was a section in the book. I'm going to quote the page just so that Alice can't look at it.
No.
Yeah. I forget the page. I wish I could come up with the page right now. But it does mention that the staff should be brought into the loop and get an orientation also, as far as so that they understand what's going on too.
That was after the first meeting too, after the first focus group. Then it's heavy.
Actually, I think the orientation can happen prior to the first focus group, as long as they don't talk to anyone who's going into the focus group.
No influence.
But at least, so that they are, I'm really trying to find that page.
Yeah, so the staff knows something's coming down the line.
Yeah, so that they feel oriented and a part of the process also.
So, I'm sorry, can you just catch me up on that part? I didn't hear the first part of that.
I had mentioned any of the, I don't have my book, so I can't look at the pages that you guys are looking at, but just that any of the material you hand out in advance shouldn't be judgmental or focused or slanted toward the library, because the whole point was community needs even of people who don't go to the library. So you just don't want to prejudice how they come in thinking, oh, this is a library thing. So that was the focus of it.
So what happened was I had mentioned handing things out prior as a way to reduce the amount of time that Wendy has to go through and explain everything once they're in the meeting. And Alice made the point that, we want to make sure that like the library service responses, we probably shouldn't hand out before, because then they're already aware and then they're gearing their mind towards, oh, this is what we're doing, right? And that was a good point. And then I was just saying that one of the things was staff orientation to the program towards the strategic planning, and how the staff should get an orientation to it so that they understand and they're a part of the process. Not that they're going to go out and seek information right now or anything, but just so that they understand what's going on. And I was saying that Mary had done a board orientation, and I didn't know if she wanted to do a staff orientation too, or if you do the staff orientation, or how that happens. But there's a whole section of the book that, not section, but a small piece of the book that is dedicated to, staff should get, or, oh, here it is, design and present a staff orientation, step 1.5. So page 20, Alice, can you turn to page 20, Alice?
All right, page 20.
But it's just, I don't know if that's something that you've already done, Yvonne. I just thought to mention it because I don't think it's been part of our conversation prior.
Yeah, to just let them know that something's coming pretty soon and they're going to be a big part of it.
But also ask them not to try to influence anybody in advance.
Yeah, so it has.
And then I'm sorry, I didn't mean to derail. So we're on agenda and materials. So we should just be mindful of the fact that we do not hand out anything that that could potentially sway people.
So in terms of who should do the staff orientation, it says on page 20, should be done by the outside consultant if you use one. If you don't, then the orientation program can be presented by the library director or member of the management team who was selected to be the planning coordinator on the library side is what they're talking about, but we don't have that. So the information that the staff receive will be the same no matter who's presenting. So, I mean, I'm happy to do it together with you, Mary, but.
Yeah, whatever you want to do.
I think it would make sense for both of us if you would like to.
Sure. So, you'll probably, obviously have a great rapport with, who works with you, and what timing and how you would like to roll that out. And I would, totally support whatever you want to do with that, and, come on by and be part of it. I don't know if you have to do it several different times because people work all different shifts and stuff, but.
Well, what we could do is do it as part of our next staff meeting, which will be April 7th, I believe. So that's usually in the afternoon from 4 to 5, and it's on Zoom. A couple of people can't be here because we're running the library during that time, but that's when it usually is. So I will confirm the time and send it to you if that's okay.
Yeah, sounds great.
Okay.
And just let me know if there's anything, you want me to say. Make sure, like I have a little heads up. I'm not like, I want to know what I'm going to say before I have to say it. And if you know what you want to say, perfect. Take it away.
Okay, great.
All right. So I'll definitely make that agenda that I had listed out. It matches the book pretty much with my little like time stamps going down the side, and send that out to everybody. And then we can double check the materials they recommend and just make sure like, well, how library specific are they? And, when's the best time to roll those out? So we'll keep that going. I will get that agenda out to you definitely by Friday. Just trying to think, I've got another meeting tonight, I've got 2 meetings tomorrow. You know how it is. Materials. Well, this will be interesting. So you know how we talked about I should make sure I touch base with Betsy before the library board meeting. You know, money, it's a thing. Oh no, money's not a thing. Apparently, we can't get money from the library board because it's not for like a big durable item or a new library, which is what they're supposed to use their money for. So
Oh.
I thought that was rather interesting. She was kind of like, well, just kind of send her the bills and she would cover it, which that's awkward. And then I was like, well, I'll split it with you, whatever. Well, here's what the cost would be anyhow. But I thought it was very odd that like now she's telling us there's no money. Like how are we supposed to do all this?
Yeah.
And don't you publish, like, don't you them? It's, you know, some nice copies of them at some point. Where's that coming from? You know, we talked about a consultant for quite a while. What was that? Where was that going to come from?
Did Betsy say no money through the library? But what about the library board? Don't we have some money in reserve somewhere?
Well,
don't know,
I think that's what Mary's saying, though, is that she doesn't want to go to the endowment fund for something that is not large and durable or something that's not a new library.
Right, which I know that is what the fund is for. When she said that, I'm like, oh yeah. And then it's like, well, why'd you send us down this path if you didn't send us with any lunch money?
What about the library budget itself? Are there professional service? You're not talking a lot of money. You're probably talking $500.
Right, well, so
Huh?
sorry, go
Is
ahead.
there money in the library budget? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
I can find out if it's possible to use that for this. We don't have anything in the budget for it right now.
Right. And we
so-
always know, you know, how absolutely bare bones the library budget is. So I'm like, well, I don't want to bother the library budget.
How much are you-
Yeah, I'll ask the finance department if it's an allowable expense, and if we would move some money into a different line to pay for that, and we
how much are you talking about?
Okay, so I did everything out.
Yeah.
So if we did center school at $30 an hour and tried to keep it as short as we could, say 8:30, so some time for setup, to 12:30 in case there's any like lingering people, that's 4 hours at $30 an hour is $120. If we did one of those big post-it notepad kind of things that go on an easel and presenters use up at the front of a room, and then you can display what you've written around the room because they're sticky.
Yeah.
One of those pads at Staples is $40 for a 30-sheet pad. If you want big chunky markers so that you can see them from a distance, those could be anywhere from $8 to $12 for like a set of 4.
Okay.
I would supply papers, pens, and Post-its because I have millions of those.
I was just going to say, I may have huge chunky markers that I had from OM. So,
All right. So keep going. So, and then you had food.
So then I was already going to probably, we'll just bake a couple things. That'll be fine. So I'll bake a couple things. I'll do some quick breads, hearty oatmeal cookies. That's fine for a morning type of meeting. That's fine. And then I figured just get 2 boxes.
We're not actually allowed to do that.
We just buy them at Stu's. So, all right. So keep going. Go ahead.
We can't serve home baked items.
Okay.
We
You
used
might
to
use less
like,
preservatives.
Cookie platter at BJ's for like $15.
yeah, we used to be able to do that, but they have stopped allowing that for the past couple of years.
Okay, that's.
All right. So Mary, keep going with.
And then if we did 2 of those boxes of Joe from Dunkin' Donuts, the first box is $15.99 and the second box is $14.99. So basically $30 worth of coffee. And they supply all the cups, and I guess what do people put in coffee? Sugar, and I don't know how they supply creamer.
Do you have this? So what I need to do if the library is going to cover this is we need to create a purchase order. So we need if you can just send me the budget that you sort of put together. I'll see if we can do it.
Okay, so yep, I'll totally send that. So just, off the top of my head, it's about $120 for the school.
232.
I'm sorry, would you say 232?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's in that.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I'd like to handle this because I really haven't done anything with the list. I'll just like to talk to Steve this week and, you know, get his reaction. I'm sure there are funds for stuff like this, so let me handle this one, okay?
Sure. Okay.
As opposed to going through the library budget you're talking about.
Yeah, because I think that's just going to create nightmares of, oh, now you're using money to support a new library that you're not supposed to be supporting overtly with public funds.
Well, but just the other, I understand what you're saying, but I don't think this is specifically for a new library. This is a strategic plan that libraries should do every, 3 to 5 years or whatever is determined. So it is a legitimate expense for libraries anyway, I think.
Right, because you always have a strategic plan to serve the community needs right now.
Well,
And, again, you look forward, a few years, like how can we keep it going? But yeah, it's for now. It's not just for a new library.
okay, but if you approve, I'll handle this. All right, I'll get it, and I'll do something about it this week, next week. So hold off, Yvonne, on involving the library budget.
Yeah, Steve might have a little pot of secret money for
Well,
random expenses.
I have the feeling.
And, we'll share information that comes out of the meeting that he might like to know that people are on people's minds.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole point is to share this with everybody, not just the library
Right.
board.
If we can't handle someone's needs, pass it off to, here's what we found out, whoever wants to help can help. All right, so we'll work on the agenda, we'll work on materials. I don't know if we want to mention to him or who normally takes care of, well, if we print a few copies of, some copies of this, that'll be a fee at some point too.
For printing of stuff?
Right.
Well, that's going to be
Eventually we'll print.
That's
So, in this day and age, a lot of it will be online, but, some places still like to have print copies.
Mhm.
We do have a binding machine here, but if this is not a library expense, then that would be tricky to.
But keep remembering, for our purposes, the strategic plan for many of the districts we looked at was 10 pages, not an expensive printing thing. It's not like a nice marketing tool, that like some of the other districts used all pictures, colored pictures and stuff. That's where the expense comes in. So it doesn't have to be an enormous publication.
Yeah, I just didn't want to totally blow it off as like, oh, we won't spend anything, but we might, so.
Okay, I'll put that down too. All right.
All right.
Got
So
it.
meanwhile, we keep talking about this awesome focus group we have planned, and with this community needs, people who might not use a library. Hello, what about all our wonderful library patrons? Of course, we want their input as well. So that reminded me, oh yeah, the survey. It's another way to get information. So I kind of envisioned, that late April and into middle of May, our data collection. So, we're collecting our data from the focus group. We can collect data from a survey, which can be online and on paper if people stop in the library and just want to fill something out. And we just need some survey questions. And I thought we could start it right before the focus group. So if we started around April 21st, then when we're at the focus group, we can say, oh, by the way, there's a survey open. So if you say someone's is in touch with Girl Scouts, remind your families that, that the library survey is going on right now. If someone's, at the senior center, remind your folks over there that the library survey is going on. So we can kind of, at the end, remind them, oh yeah, there's a library survey out there. And then we could end it like the middle of May. So we'd have all that time, all that information gathering, and then read it all, figure out what's going on, and jump off into writing the goals from there. So we would need some survey questions. And Alice actually has started some back in January.
December, January. My task back then was something to use that would generate questions about the community at large, not just the library. So that's where I tried to come up with questions based on a variety of possible interests and needs.
Okay, so we could see how we want to tweak it. I mean, certainly would want to know what's the best, what information do we want to get from library goers? Because we'll be getting lots of information from other groups, but you know, our real dedicated library goers, what do they want? You know, what do we need to know from them? So I'd sent that attachment only like half an hour before the meeting, that Alice. So it says things like, you know, which of the following activities or programs would you or any member of your household attend, depending on topic? You could put as many as you wanted, likely, sometimes not at all. Concerts, information programs, computer program usage, arts and crafts activities, theatrical programs, book discussions, job-related programs, and other. So that's one format where then you would tally all the likelies, sometimes not at all. Which of the following service areas would you or any member of your household use? Computers, dedicated teen space, quiet room for remote working / learning, areas for groups to meet, areas for reading and conversation, small room for tutoring, research, work. Tell of any hobbies or special interests. You know, a lot of people have taken vegetable gardening in the last year, who knows?
Well, you know, what their interests are would inform your activities. And in this one, I purposely did not include sports activities because no matter what, we're really not going to be offering tennis in the library or basketball or something. So
well, we can, but we mustn't.
Those aren't here. The other thing I purposefully did not put in because it just gets too complicated is what's your age, you know, because, you know, then you get, well, concert, okay, seniors like them, but who cares? It's really anybody might like them. So I purposefully did not ask specific questions of identification of an individual because it's not that important. It's, you know, what's to offer for any age group, anybody.
So I guess, you know, Yvonne, since you actually will have to work with these kind of ideas, what kind of information do you want to hear? Like, what do you need?
I think what would be, we're looking at the information in basically two ways. We're looking at it in terms of using it for we are looking at it for a grant for a construction grant application. So in that case, it would be helpful to know about the space needs and comparing that to the space needs report that exists right now that we have. And space needs are, you know, broken out in really general terms. So what we don't have here is really instructional space. And number 3, we have computers, dedicated teen space, quiet room, areas for groups, areas for reading, small rooms for tutoring, research work. So that's really a lot of space needs. We don't have gallery space, exhibit space. So perhaps exhibit space.
Right, like exhibit / gallery.
And for computers, that's a kind of general question. And so public computers would be one question, but then technology instructional space is a whole other area. So you wouldn't have, for example, you wouldn't teach a class out at the public computers, right? But you would have a separate space for instruction. And makerspace is an awkward term. A lot of people don't know what it means.
Right.
But I was just going to say that, yeah.
Yeah, but another term that, you know, I mean, people use, you know, hands-on learning, people use workshop space, words like that to describe makerspace areas. So space for hands-on learning.
I'm going to put, okay. I'm going to use the hands-on learning, which would cover arts and crafts areas, technology areas, various projects. You don't need to get so specific that we need a technology workspace here. You just need spaces at the moment. And then that you refine those when you meet with the architects.
Right. Although something like technology educational space would be interesting because I don't think people know you could get that in a library.
Okay, so I'm going to put computer/tech ed space.
Yeah, they think, well, I can go use a computer, but what if I need to learn, you know, a new programming software?
Right.
So computer training is what you're talking about. So maybe just add that as a number 3, right? Public
More than
computer
that, though,
use.
it's probably like making movies, editing things.
Yeah.
It could be, yeah, it could be.
Printers. So we have
There are
hands-on.
green screens. I mean, Danbury's got their green screen.
A lot of
I
schools
had
have
actually,
them now.
when I was looking at job-related programs, when I thought of training, that's actually what was coming to mind. So I thought that was covered with the computer. I thought that was computer training, like, you know, Excel or whatever that someone's.
So we're looking
needing to
at that
learn.
as an activity, but then we're looking at spaces and areas in
Yeah.
number 3. Right.
I'll put down technology areas, and then in parentheses, instruction/use. So both are covered, but you know, just keep in mind, this is not for the architect yet. This is just in general what you want or what you're
Right, but
hoping.
it will be informative if
Right.
people they want, you know, quiet rooms to study and smaller rooms for, you know, working and tutoring. And it's like, well, we don't have that. We don't have that. We don't have that. But the community keeps saying they want it. Teen space, the community keeps, so we want to, you know, make sure that, you know, they're asking for something that at some point we can provide. And that would be in, you know, the future plans. Okay, so so you said 2 things you wanted information about. So it's definitely space needs, which a lot of 3 addresses, and we can tweak it and make it address it, you know, even more. Was there something else? Yvonne, you said
Captured the rest of the things, right? We had technology education. We had the hands-on learning space. Then do we need to say anything at all about accessibility?
good point. Let's see.
I don't know if we need to, but
Well, all right, so this is asking people what they want. I mean, it has to be accessible.
I was gonna say, legally, the law says we have to.
I mean, my God, we're 30 years out of whack with the law, for heaven's sake. So that's like a given.
for a new space, yes. But if
For this space, we need to keep moving.
well, they already took the elevator out of the budget, and if we want to, I don't know if we want to, but it's a question. Do we want to be able to point to this survey in our November budget process that we're going to be beginning, saying that the community demands accessibility, or is that something that we will be able to get from this?
I feel like, and this could be totally my opinion, but I feel like the survey is going out to people to look at what they hope to, and then it's for the library to actually match the service responses, right? So what can we do in the next 3 to 5 years? If we're talking about a new library, we're talking over 5 years out at this point that we know of. So really it's about servicing the community where we are and with what we have now. I don't know that we want to try to make this. We've already got a survey that over 1,000 people responded to that, you know, screamed so much for what people desire in a new library. And I believe that there's going to be a need to do another survey like that. But I do think that this, for the purposes of the strategic plan for the next 3 to 5 years, I think we ought to keep it strictly, you know, asking them questions about what's going on in their daily life and in their community, and then hope to match it up with some service responses.
And we know it's kind of a hybrid though. So yes, everything you said for sure. But we also know this will probably be the document that gets submitted to the state at some point to further the goal of the new library. So we're kind of in that gray area where yes, we're meeting the near-term needs. But we know, like, no matter what we do, we won't really do a perfect job of meeting them until we can roll it over into a new library.
In the last survey, which really provided you no information that you could use, I mean, seriously, because I've gone through the whole thing and analyzed everything. The biggest thing you came out with was that people want more room, more items, more hours, and that they like the staff. I didn't see any questions on accessibility or handicapped issues I don't remember a single one. How satisfied are you? They like the staff assistance, the hours, and the Wi-Fi. They want more space for groups to meet, and a better library building. So those technology didn't really come up, none of that. So that's something that as a group, we have to keep in mind is needed no matter what. But you won't get that from a survey necessarily. It's going to be a visceral thing of, well, wait a minute, I want a place to meet with my model train club, that kind of thing. And, so that that there are a lot of little groups that would like smaller meeting rooms to talk about stamp collecting and things, or, whatever it is. But you as a group, especially the committee that eventually hopefully builds the new library, the building committee, you have to keep in mind the bigger picture of the future. That's not the point for this. This is, what do people want today that we don't have, that's possible that we might be able to have? That's the point of this survey. And then from that, you develop immediate goals and objectives, not 8 years out goals and objectives. So, if you try to do too much on a survey, you're going to wind up with mud in responses, or people won't finish it. So it's just the more targeted, the better, and the better responses you'll get. So I'm off my soapbox.
Okay. I bet a lot of people, though, have learned in the last year how much more technology they needed to access that they never needed before. So now we'll be, all of a sudden people will be like, yeah, I do need technology. Who knew? Imagine if we did this only 2 years ago, how many things we wouldn't have imagined yet.
Well, if you like, I can revise this and send it to you, Mary, with what we've talked about. And I'm going to eliminate at the bottom. These are at the bottom were questions that I had asked. Do they return a hard copy or online? How do you do that? Where do you get additional surveys, date to return, that kind of thing? So those are questions for this little bunch to decide. Right. But I can rework this with those with the new information.
Of course, in this day and age, it'd be nice. And of course, we can't even have as many people through the library as normal. But soon, if we do an online part of it, like I have no idea how to do that. I'll be right up front and tell you, I have no idea to do an online survey.
And I know less than you.
Christina,
It would be hard to know less than zero.
Or less. I know nothing.
I do. I know how to do Google Forms, but Yvonne, if you want to do it, you can.
I mean, either way, I just don't, I've done it once or twice. So I'm happy to give it a try, but if you are sort of an expert at it, that's also welcome. So I can try it, no problem. And I think and we can also print them out as well for
right.
people who are not wanting to do the online version. But I think Google Forms will be the best way to do it because it'll just throw it right into, we won't have to hand tabulate anything, and it just will make a lot more sense. We can hand enter any paper ones that we get. But
well, for now, just come up with what you want on the form, and then whoever knows how to do the form.
And if you're going to hand them out at the library, it might make sense for you to do it, Yvonne, because then you'd be able to enter everything into one spot if you're getting paper as well.
And if you get inundated by them because you're going to have such a great response, I could certainly do data entry type of things. That's certainly easy enough for me to do, and I have more time, more free time. And would we link to it from the library website? And do you think the town would let us link from the homepage? Like, you know, how they always have like interesting things going on in town. Do you think we could link?
Yeah, we can ask for sure. What we can do is ask Ginny to put it in the spotlight.
Right. And we said we needed some lead time on that, right?
And see, you're not asking for a building here and you're not asking for money. You're just asking for services and programs that people want.
When does Spotlight come out? It must come out like monthly at a certain time of the month.
It does. I think our information, like let's say for April, is due to them. Due to Ginny, I think tomorrow. So it's basically at least a week before the start of the month.
Okay.
So if we wanted it for May, we would have to get it to Ginny safely by middle of April, but maybe we have that extra week.
Okay, because we might meet again by like when April 21st is a Wednesday. So if we met then, we could probably get it to Ginny if that's enough lead time. The 21st before the end of the 30th. Well, we'll meet at least 2 more times probably before that.
Do you want me to revise and send this out to everybody then so you can kind of
Yeah, people
take it apart and have it for the next meeting? Okay.
Yeah.
Will do.
Okay. And then so mid or the 3rd week. So the 2nd or 3rd week of the month would have to get it to Ginny.
I'm just
obviously there's no penalty for getting things there early.
And actually, you really don't need this before the meeting, before the focus group.
Right.
I mean, it'd be nice maybe to have the results, but you don't need them for that. It can be.
Right. Well, it wasn't even the results, just letting them know there is a survey out there. You know, you're a leader in your part of the community. Could you just, you know, ask people to fill it out?
Yep.
So I just double checked, and yes, the deadline for the spotlight is tomorrow for April. So that means that we can expect, let's see, the Thursday before, April 22nd to be the deadline for May.
Okay, sounds great.
Boink.
And you know, if a little bit of it's out there already, that's fine too. But yeah, definitely good to know that date. Thank you very much. All right. So we'll tighten up the questions, see what we, you know, if they're what everybody wants, see all the information you want. We'll look toward getting it ready to go to Spotlight. When, you know, once we get from there. Yay. All right. So you probably wonder, like, what? I thought we were gonna like pre-write some of this stuff in this time frame, and they're like, oh no, now we need survey questions. But very soon we'll have the agenda all settled, and we'll have the survey questions all settled. So that will actually give us some time to pre-write. Maybe we don't want to, you know, delve into that right now, but because we are running a little late of people's time. You know, once we know the parts we want in it, like, you know, short history of Brookfield Library, facts and figures about the library, facts and figures about Brookfield, just listing the participants, library staff members, library board members, well, when we know the focus group members, we could all like divvy that up, and people could like take the parts that they are comfortable with to, you know, do their first drafts, instead of all of us going, oh, what do we, which, you know, poring over which facts and figures about Brookfield do you want to include? You know, we could divvy that up, and people who are comfortable, like, oh, I call facts and figures about Brookfield, and, you know, then write something up and be like, hey, what do you think? And we could talk about it that way. So we'll get to that really soon. So next steps, I said I would definitely get that agenda with like little, you know, potential timestamps on there out to everybody. So I'll get the agenda out to you.
Is that the agenda of the 424 meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
We'll try to finalize the focus group attendees as soon as we get more responses rolling in. If we don't have many more responses in the next few days, week, we should, you know, delve deeper into our list.
I just got a response. I just got a response from Bob Zinser.
Oh yeah,
he's in.
Oh, yay, Bob!
Oh, that's great.
That's a yes. Perfect timing too.
Yeah.
See, we meant the meeting to go long.
You really just need about 3 more people. You know,
Yeah.
originally you talked about 14 to 18 people.
Yeah,
So
we'll get there.
You're up to 11 with the maybe and then the kid on Zoom.
Okay, perfect. So we'll probably get there. We do want to make sure, finalize that, especially in case we end up sending like little pre-materials. Make sure we have everybody organized there.
So do we want to tell Sarah Fayed then? I'm sorry, do we want to tell our Zoom participant that we will absolutely include her on Zoom? Or is that still being discussed?
Yeah, I don't know. Where were we on Zoom for a meeting like that?
Well, I thought we were going to reach out to other teams. And maybe an option is, we talked about maybe sending something to Ben B, right? If we send something to Ben, maybe we send something to Sarah as well. And then that way, her responses are included. I don't know, that might be a way. I'm just thinking if there's one person on Zoom,
right,
it may be really challenging to engage them in the conversation.
Well, you only
that also,
and how do they join one of those groups of 3?
Yeah, how do you do you carry the computer over? And then also it might make things trickier for our facilitator.
You also only have the one facilitator. You don't have a lot of little worker bees to help set up things. So, I'd say just no.
Yeah, well,
I would send her the information that you're planning on sending to Ben though too.
What is it that we're planning on sending to Ben?
Well, he mentioned that he'd be happy to fill out any questions and that sort of thing. So what I would do is whatever the questionnaire is that gets sent out, I would make sure that Ben has it and Sarah has it. And any other questions that we can come up with, because we know that they're going to be one-on-one, and anything that's discussed, like the SWOT analysis, they can help with the SWOT analysis. And then that can be taken into account even during the discussion with Wendy, because we can then give information to Wendy prior if we have earlier responses.
So are you not considering the person who can only come on Zoom? Is that person off? Just because
I would say send her the same information that Ben gets. That's my opinion. My opinion would be include her. Anyone who wants to be included and is saying would join. I wouldn't make it, I feel like adding her via Zoom or adding anyone via Zoom if everyone else is in person is going to make it more challenging for the facilitator. But I would say that since we have 2 folks that are interested in participating but can't be there, I would say send them some questions beforehand so that their information can even be added to the discussion.
Okay. And the 2 would be the person that you thought had moved out of town but hasn't, the one who's a maybe? Or who would the other?
No, Nadia is almost surely a yes. It's just a matter of getting.
We're not saying any names here, but.
I just said first names, Alice. I just said first names. I'm going to start using page numbers though, if you're not careful. Sarah and Ben, I would say, are the 2 that we send questions to prior.
Okay.
All right. So we'll fine tune the survey questions. Maybe we'll check in with Wendy. Well, actually, we the proposed agenda for that. Maybe ask her what her preferred materials are. I can't imagine she wouldn't want to work with a large pad of paper. And if she does this somewhat, does she have an easel herself? Otherwise, we'll scrounge up an easel.
We have some here.
Okay. I figured it was something a library might have. But definitely didn't want everybody, didn't want to show up that Saturday morning and look at each other going, do you have an easel? I don't have an easel. Do you? Oh, nobody got the easel. So I'm a list maker. Everything will be thought of ahead of time.
I don't even know they'll be in the gym, so it doesn't matter. I was going to say, if there was a chalkboard, I don't even know if they really have chalkboards anymore, but you could always prop it on that. I don't know, but an easel is surely handy.
Yeah, but I thought about it. I didn't know for sure, was it the gym or the cafeteria, but neither one has either a whiteboard with that little chalk marker tray or a chalkboard. I'm like, neither one has something like that. Yeah. Okay, so then we'd need a date for the next meeting. And I was thinking, this is always dangerous when my daughter says, so I was thinking, I know to duck and cover, run. It's going to be expensive. No. I was thinking if we started meeting the 1st and 3rd Wednesdays of the month, and then we could add in as needed.
right, Mary, what were you thinking? I had to go get my calendar
All right, I was thinking first and third Wednesdays at 1
of next week or
of each month. Well, April and May, so first and third Wednesdays. So it'd be like the 7th and the 24th. Well, sorry, 7th and 21st. So
okay,
that'd be 2 more meetings before the focus group.
okay.
We could throw in a March 31st, which is next Wednesday, if somebody, really felt like, oh my gosh, we want to get these survey questions right. We want, if we feel like, and if anybody feels it odd ends, and before we could meet next Wednesday, or we could just wait till April 7th and 21st. So that'd be 2 meetings before the focus group. And then library board would be the following Wednesday. So we always have the option to meet those days too, if you want. But that'd be May 5th and 19th. It would hopefully close the survey out before the 19th. So then we could get all that information.
Sorry, Mary, if I missed it. Did you say 1:30 still or 1 o'clock?
1 o'clock.
1 o'clock. Okay. Yes, that works for me.
I think a meeting next week makes a lot of sense. I mean, you might cancel the one the following,
Yes.
but you want everything, get the group organized, get the materials, decide what you want.
I wouldn't mind meeting next week either because
So that's
I do feel like there's a lot to do. I mean, this was an hour and a half meeting, so there's obviously plenty to do.
right. Okay, so March 31st. So we'll meet next Wednesday at 1, if that's okay with people.
Yep.
And then we'll try to fall
Yes.
into the pattern of first and third Wednesdays. We can cancel if we need any. If we don't need any, we can add those second or fourth if we need them.
Okay.
And who knows, we might be in such a good place next week. We'll be excited about it all. Yay.
Mary, on your list of supplies, put down painter's tape to hold up the paper. In case
Even if it's the extra sticky Post-it kind.
you would trust that.
It said extra sticky.
There you go. Get some painter's tape.
All right, we'll throw that on there. All right.
And
Anybody
I'm
have
gonna
anything else?
request from Steve about $250. Okay, to cover all the expenses. Or
Okay.
300 or 300. Make it 300.
Why not?
Yeah.
That might cover some of the printing costs if it's in color.
All right. We're pretty well set.
Yep.
Everybody good? All right. Well, I mean, I'll see you guys again at 7 tonight.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, we have time to grab a sandwich between now and then, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Are we adjourned 2:51?
We're adjourned, and I'll see you next Wednesday at 1.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good night. Bye.